$500 million. I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle Now. Bill, exactly. Former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg has told people that he is willing to spend $500 million or more to make sure that Donald Trump does not get reelected. Now, the former mayor was expected to reveal his intentions about whether he'll run in 2020 or not about a month ago. But apparently he's suffering what one report I saw termed as possible paralysis by analysis. But Politico is reporting that the $500 million figure is the floor. So, Bill Whittle, even if he decides not to run, couldn't Michael Bloomberg's $500 million have a substantial impact on President Trump's chances of reelection?
I think it has zero impact on President Trump's chances of election. First of all, we're talking about Republican mayor of New York, Bloomberg?
A former Republican, recently declared himself to be a Democrat after several years as an independent.
And you could only imagine my shock when I heard the news. First of all, his $500 million is a drop in the bucket when you really think about the total amount of dollars that are spent trying to make sure people don't vote for Donald Trump. When you take into account the cost of all of the network programming, all of the late night comedy, music, TV, award shows, what it costs to have a movie star come out against him, all of this stuff, it's a relatively trivial amount. They're spending they're certainly spending billions of dollars a year.
But it is $176 million more than Trump spent in 2016 to get elected.
But it's irrelevant. First of all, it's irrelevant. If money could buy you that kind of political influence, we'd have President Bloomberg now. And if there's a more charisma-free individual on the earth, I've yet to meet them, although maybe I have and just forgot. So there's that. But look, Scott, what's he going to do? How is he going to do this? Is he going to put out programs that say that Donald Trump is not a nice guy? Is he going to pump up the idea that Trump is a loose cannon? Is he going to point out that the president has made some gratuitous tweets and some of them maybe not factually accurate and so on?
Bill, perhaps you're missing the point, though. It's not really the message that's important. It's the medium. And Michael Bloomberg has certainly showed that he knows how to put together a data-driven information business that he turned into a media empire. So he's planning to essentially to out-Trump Trump because the main thrust of Trump's exercise in 2016 was to use that specific targeting through social media.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Donald Trump and Michael Bloomberg are mirror images of each other. If you want to list the plus for Bloomberg, he's reserved, and that's about all I know about him. Donald Trump is the exact opposite of that, and I really don't see what difference that money is going to make. If Bloomberg was such a genius, he'd be president now, or he'd be somewhere on the spectrum of people being announced for president. Don't tell me he doesn't want to be president. The guy is to my mind, just an absolute disaster, and I wish he'd called himself a Democrat when he got elected, so that the decline of New York after Rudy Giuliani wouldn't be blamed on another Republican. But seriously, Scott, what's he going to do? I, for the life of me, cannot imagine what he's going to do. When you say he's a master of the media, the people that vote for Donald Trump don't give a damn about the media. They don't listen to the media. The reason they elected Donald Trump was because guys like Bloomberg are masters of the media.
I'm not saying he's a master of the mainstream media, but the contention is that Bloomberg really understands this new age of data-driven targeting and marketing to ever smaller groups of people so you can target their specific needs. And Bloomberg is basically saying, I don't know whether I'm going to run or not. And in fact, he's still focus grouping it and still analyzing it. But let me ask you this, because one of the things keeping Bloomberg from running is some of his people around him doubt that such a centrist could even make a showing in an increasingly left-leaning Democratic primary.
Calling him a centrist it's a form of mass hypnosis. When you say that he's a master of disseminating, information. He may be a master at disseminating the latest twists and turns of a financial instrument that he's come up with to a group of investors. But if you ask anybody on the street who Michael Bloomberg is and what his political affiliations are, nobody's going to have an answer to that. I barely remember the guy myself.
Well, that's true
and I have
now.
to see his picture every day. They don't understand. They don't understand the appeal of Donald Trump. The more negative publicity you put out there, the stronger he gets. The stronger he gets. If I was fighting Donald Trump, I would not say a negative word about him, and I'd let him destroy himself with his own blunders. But I don't think he makes a lot of blunders because he's constantly under attack, and that's why he's getting so much support from people like me, for example. As I've said before, there are many things about him personally. I'm very, very, very pleased with his record, but there's a lot about the guy that I would like to see different in a president. But I don't care about that anymore. The only thing I care about now is that this guy's not beholden to the media and a master of manipulating the American people by spending $500 million of his own money. I just honestly cannot think of a person with less influence on the electorate today than Michael Bloomberg. And buying $500 million of attack ads is just might as well just give the money to the Trump campaign now.
Well, the point was not that he's going to buy $500 million of attack ads, but that $500 million could buy up all the TV inventory in 7 states. But let me ask you this. Let's just take him off the stage for a minute, because clearly you're distracted by his charisma. Let's focus on...
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Let's focus...
The visceral emotions that Michael Bloomberg generates in so many people, the passions that he raises in so many hearts across this nation has blinded my reason. Yes, please.
Okay, so let's just forget about Michael Bloomberg, the man, the candidate, the powerhouse of personality for a moment, and focus on his ability to put together an organization that can mine the data, that can deliver messages for whoever turns out to be the Democratic nominee.
Scott, Hillary Clinton certainly inherited Barack Obama's machine, which was notably more efficient than the Republican ground game machine. And again, if you were telling me that Donald Trump was an unknown quantity, that quality rather, nobody knew anything about the guy. He's coming into the race from Mars, and now somebody's going to put $500 million into trying to maneuver your opinion about him. I would have a lot more concerns about it. But I get the feeling that by now, most people in the country who are likely to vote have heard of Donald Trump and have heard enough about him to decide whether they like him or not. And those people that do like him mostly like him because guys like Michael Bloomberg decide to spend $500 million to make sure he doesn't get elected, and that the American people don't make the terrible, terrible mistake of thinking for themselves as they did in 2016, when everybody knows, especially Michael Bloomberg, that the country is much better run by the experts that live in skyscrapers in New York City than by the knuckle-dragging Neanderthal, racist, misogynist, bigot homophobes that elected Donald Trump in the first place. So if you want to spread that message, Michael, you can put me down for $15. I'm in.
Well, if you look at what happened in 2016, and certainly Michael Bloomberg is, and any people he hires, are shrewd enough to understand by this point how to play Trump's conservative base in a way that gets them, in effect, to circulate stories that work to their own detriment, that make them look foolish. I could see very well a Bloomberg operation driven from behind the curtain that would essentially emulate what the Democrats are saying that the Russians did.
Okay, so Bloomberg has made an announcement that he's going to spend a floor of $500 million of his own money making sure Trump doesn't get reelected.
That's
right?
it.
Okay, so now let's say we start to see the ripened fruits of this investment in the form of whatever you want to call it. I don't care what it is. It's a Facebook campaign. It doesn't matter. Let's just say, for the sake of the discussion, that it's an attack ad. All right? So now you've got an attack ad that's being funded by this $500 million. If I'm Donald Trump, I pick up the newspaper and I see today's headline saying, Michael Bloomberg's committing to spending $500 million to make sure that I don't get reelected because the economy is doing so well and unemployment is so low. That's obviously not in his interest. So he's spending $500 million, he said back in February of 2019, Said he's going to spend $500 million to make sure I don't get elected. And then all of a sudden here this ad shows up. It turns out it's paid for by Michael Bloomberg. Well, you got to admire a guy who's a man of his word.
I'm so glad that the economy is doing so well that Michael Bloomberg feels he can spend $500 million on an impossible dream.
Much better than what I just said. Much better than what I just said. And right down Trump's alley. Exactly correct. Yes. And so basically, Scott, what you've got here is this. You've got two guys who are essentially New York City insider businessmen, financial real estate tycoons and stuff. One of them's quiet. The other one's extremely flamboyant. But neither one of them are particularly nice guys in terms of you can't be a success of that magnitude in New York City by being a swell guy. I just don't believe that you can do it. So you've got two guys that understand how this fight goes. And if you had to ask me which one of these two guys understands the media better, Donald Trump or Michael frickin' Bloomberg, who's had that network for I don't know how long now, which is making a small fortune, this Bloomberg network, because he started with a large fortune. And
now, in fairness, the reporting says he started with a small fortune.
What is the impact? No, hold on. If Bloomberg TV or whatever it's called has been out there for 4 or 5 years or for however long, I'm in the business. I don't have the faintest idea how long it's been there. I don't have the faintest idea what their reach is. But my point is, if Bloomberg has been running this vanity project for 5, 10 years now, whatever, that's 50 years, 100 years, 6 months, I don't know and I don't care. That's kind of the point. I don't know and I don't care. If he's been running this vanity project for this long with so little traction in the pop culture, which is where the votes are, then the threat of Michael Bloomberg's ire does not intimidate me. And furthermore, anybody who makes a commitment to spend $500 million to make sure that I don't get reelected is a potential source of ammunition for me. And Donald Trump does not seem to be shy about using ammunition when it's placed at his feet like that.
Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity here and just take about 60 seconds, and we may excerpt this portion of the show because I want to give you an opportunity to, in effect, retract everything you've just said. And for this purpose, the last thing in the world I would suspect you want is for him to see this and make up his mind that, yeah, maybe you're right. So I would like to give you an opportunity to retract everything you just said to ensure that Michael Bloomberg, in fact, spends $500 million.
What's this guy's name again, and what is he doing?
His name is Michael Bloomberg, former mayor of New York City, and now he would like to make sure that President Trump does not get elected by spending at least $500 million.
No, I don't think that's right. Doesn't ring a bell.
You've not heard of $500 million?
I've heard of $500 million.
You've not heard of President Trump?
I've heard of President Trump.
You've not heard of a presidential election coming up in 2020?
No, I'm well aware of that.
So which part of it have you not heard of?
It's this guy you're talking about.
Michael Bloomberg.
Who's that?
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for watching Bill Whittle Now. We appreciate the members at BillWhittle.com who make it possible through their monthly contributions, sometimes annual contributions. You can become a member there by going to BillWhittle.com and clicking that Become a Member link. Join their storied ranks today. So for Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.